We got another huge Habs trade update, this one coming from the fourth period, as they have indicated Montreal is looking for another Kirby Dach style trade, and they named two very interesting players, including Trevor Zegras, that they think Montreal should go after. We also got to talk about David Savard trade destinations revealed and the teams most likely to be targeting him. A bunch of great stuff, plus Ivan Demidov breaking the KHL record for an under 20 season for points in the KHL ever. This is unbelievable. He's up to 43. We also got to talk about Owen Beck, who put up 3 goals on the AHL All-Star Day. There's a bunch of great stuff to get into coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into the video, we really want to thank the sponsor of this video, the Simulation Hockey League, the SHL. Ever wanted to go pro in hockey? Come live out the dream in the Simulation Hockey League. You can create your dream pro hockey player and customize their attributes and play style in a big, thriving community of hundreds of active players.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there, right? You go from getting drafted to training camp to one day getting into the SHL. And there's just so much involved, even when it comes to commentary, to stats. There's just everything in this for you to enjoy if you love hockey and interacting with others.
And the best thing, Jesse, it's completely free, and you can earn in-game currency, like you said, for being a reporter, making graphics, writing articles, or even better, playing yourself. You can grow into an SHL Hall of Famer by earning points to upgrade your attributes, by doing tasks like predicting the outcome of matches or scoring goals.
Absolutely. And we know here at Habs Digest, you guys love community. That's why you're going to love the SAHL, where you can really interact with others while making the team of your dreams.
You can catch up on game results, player stats, even advanced stats on the SHL Index. You can catch up on everything you need to do. You can even watch live simulations. There's live streams, a bunch of great stuff. So come join a community of enthusiasts all striving to win the cup and have a good time doing so. Click the link in the description of the pinned comment down below, and shout out to the SHL, the Simulation Hockey League, for sponsoring this video. The SHL draft is February 8th, so get in quick. Click the link down below. Jesse, let's get into the video. And we want to start with Owen Beck. Now, the AHL All-Star Game, I will say, it's looking a bit like the NHL All-Star Game, like the All-Star Game in a lot of sports where there's not a ton of effort going on. But regardless, it's really cool to see Owen Beck go out there and put on a bit of a show. Logan Mailloux didn't get any goals, but our boy Owen Beck did. Hey, as a replacement for Joshua Waugh, getting 3 goals is really not that bad.
For sure. And Owen Beck, knowing that he's making it to the big time, he's showing out here in the AHL. The birthday boy himself just turned 21 today. So, you know, playing an amazing game. We know the defense was a little bit lax, as you might notice from these highlights here. But I mean, like, he was being unselfish with it too, right? He was looking to set it up, but he's getting the puck back and he's picking his corners, he's finishing. And even on that second goal, like, when it's that breakaway against the goalie, this is still mano a mano. And he's just popping bottles, like really looking like a solid player. Like for me, Owen Beck, Josh, as you know, as I've said many times on the pod, this is a surefire, bona fide NHLer. Like we're risking our claim like on this player because this is how much we believe like in the fundamentals, in the details. You know, he's always had that, but now showing that offensive side just makes things even brighter for his NHL career.
I mean, there's a lot of other aspects to his game too, right? He projects longer term as a very good face-off guy, as he's had a good history with that in the past. Again, young players tend to struggle early. We'll wait and see how he does as he becomes a full-time NHL center. But the defensive game's always been there, that 200-foot game, and to see him be able to put together a nice offensive season, like you said, Jesse, second half of last year in the OHL, this year in the AHL, it's exactly what we wanted to see. Leave some love for Owen Beck down below. He does deserve it, but we're not stopping the prospect talk there. We got to talk about our boy Ivan too, as he tips this point shot down, and I'm not sure who actually scored that goal. I mean, Gritsiuk, I'm not sure. However, it doesn't matter who scored it, because Ivan Demidov picks up the assist on this goal, and you know what that means, Jesse? It means that Ivan Demidov now sits on top for the most points in a single season by an under 20 KHLer. At his current pace, he's on track to break the under 23 record too, with Nikishin putting up 55 points in 22-23. I'll expand this a bit. Demidov still has, I think, about 15 games left, somewhere around there, or between 10 and 15. I'm not exactly sure the number, but he very well could reach that mark of 55 points. For the under 23 record, Jesse, he's still 19. Like, we talk all the time about Demidov. We've been looking forward to this record all season long. He's officially done it, and I don't think he plans to stop anytime soon.
And he's doing this while having less ice time, less power play time, and 80 games less KHL experience than Kaprizov. Like, when we put all these factors together, like, this is absolutely nuts. All these updates all years, folks. It's really kind of come to this moment right here, which is absolutely so huge, contributing to this goal in really huge ways. Some amazing hand-eye, clearly being Ivan Demidov, the player that Montreal really, really needs right now. So the whole question is setting him up for success when he's here. When it's a franchise player, guys like this, they get the special treatment, which I believe there's implications with Dach here. I'm starting to feel, Josh, like we're going to get into this a little bit more in a second, but like, I really feel like we could see a Kirby Dach trade like as early as this summer. Like, do you think that starting next season, is Kirby Dach going to be that center beside Demidov once he makes it to that second line, or is it going to be somebody else?
Oh man, that's a good question. Oh man, you know what? Like, I think probably yes if I'm playing the odds, but like, there comes a point where if a guy's not working out for you, you want the best for that player and for yourself. And I think Dach still can get there. We've seen some great flashes from him, but he just hasn't been good as of late. And I think some other teams might be willing to take a flyer on him. And I mean, look, I'd still like to keep him around and see. But I know some fans are starting to get impatient. It's not just fans, too, like we've seen. The Habs are like, look, you're not performing. You're going to get benched. Eventually, those privileges of being a second-line center are going to run out because, look, as soon as someone comes along who can play center, who is better than Kirby Dach, he'll move down to the 3C. So we'll have to wait and see. I actually do think him and Demidov are a great fit, and I think they could really benefit each other. So that's why I'm hesitant to say yes for sure that Dach will be gone, but it's a very interesting thing you bring up. But here's the thing: it's not just Kirby Dach now, Jesse. We don't even know who might even play that center. As you alluded to, it might be someone else. And we got some big trade reports coming from the fourth period, and let's just dive into this here. So I'm going to bring it up full screen. Pop it up there. There's a bunch of quotes. Feel free to pause and read them. I'll paraphrase. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's a wall of text. No one wants to read a wall of text. But first off, he said that we're talking about David Savard being moved, as he currently sits as one of the more prized defensive trade chips left on the board, with Pettersson traded, with CC traded. Teams such as Tampa, Toronto, and Edmonton are going to be the ones to watch on the Savard front. We'll talk about a Kirby Dach-esque trade in a second, but I just wanted to start with Savard because this is the guy that we sort of thought from the beginning of the year was a certainty to be gone. But with Montreal being in the mix, that's kind of been hesitant a bit. But the one team, I even hear Leafs fans talking about this, Jesse, not just about Savard, but about Evans too. I'm just going to toss this out there. I don't think Savard ever can even go to the Leafs. I think Montreal had asked for way more than the Leafs would ever be willing to give for him. It is an interesting fit, but regardless, to hear that Savard, like, you know, he's going to have a lot of teams interested in him. And again, with that market thinning, with Pettersson off the board, with CC, one of the premier right shot Ds, premier, that was available this year, also traded, Savard's right there in line, and he could fetch more than we were thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. With this trade of Marcus Pettersson, his value is already high. It's even kind of climbed up from there. So with the trade deadline come up, with the playoffs, he's definitely going to be, you know, a great asset for Kent Hughes kind of going forward. Obviously, he's done so much for this team, and it's kind of, I feel like he knows that at this point in time, and he's just imparting all that knowledge that he can in the meantime. For sure, the Guhle injury affects things a little bit. I don't think to the extent of not trading David Savard. It's just, it's that time with who we kind of have coming up and everything else. I would say I would put Armia there as well. Yeah. Very solid chance. I say Armia and Savard getting traded for sure. Evans, now we're not so sure. That's probably the player they're all kind of keeping in this. But yeah, definitely going to be a huge market for Savard here.
It's going to be crazy. Like, I mean, and Jake Evans too, like they even mentioned him in the article. It hasn't got to the point where the Habs are like, no, we're not moving him. But, you know, the extension talks, I'm sure, are coming along, but we're only about a month away. Now, we got the whole Four Nations to wait on that. But yeah, by the way, this whole article will be linked down below if you guys want to have a bigger read of it, because I suggest you do. There's a lot more in it than just this. But I want to dive into some other stuff, too, and talking more about Kent Hughes and what he's looking to do, Jesse. And they basically say, obviously, he acquired Dach, and then he went and traded for Patrick Laine. Hughes has made it known he wants to do that again, ideally before the trade deadline. But if not, he will explore more options around the NHL draft and over the summer. And he caps it off, this article, by saying potential names to look out for include Trevor Zegras, who is seriously linked to the Habs over the summer, Casey Mittelstadt from the Colorado Avalanche, or any young forward who could use a fresh start. You name it, and Hughes will be in those talks. We sort of figured he might be, Jesse, but we know Kent wants to do stuff for the future of the team, but to be directly linking him again to Zegras and Mittelstadt as young forwards who could use a fresh start, it's interesting. Now, these guys are starting to become less reclamation projects and more known commodities. I feel like we've been talking about it for 2 years, right? These guys are starting to get to their mid-20s, but this is where I come back to what you said earlier, like, you get a guy who's maybe a known commodity who has shown more than someone who's currently on this team. Wouldn't surprise me if Kent Hughes decided to just make sort of one of these little swaps where two guys need a new fresh start and he brings someone in.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we did for the Carrier trade, and that's what really worked out for us. But this is very interesting news, being reported by the fourth period here of saying like a move happening before a Kirby-esque type of trade before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Like that's basically just a month away. Like that's a big move. I don't know. Like I would be very surprised if that actually happens because it's the Kirby dog type of moves, even the type of deals that Hughes wants to be making right now. I would argue not. I would think that with the Carrier trade, he's really signaling he's going for a little bit more of those known commodities. Like we're not even sure how that trade panned out. I think we need to kind of dial that down a little bit because the way that things are going right now is Kirby Dach, the way that his contract is and everything, with another year, it's not a huge amount. You got to feel like they're gonna wait until the end of that contract before making any type of decision. Like that's how they're going to play this. At the same time, him being at center isn't really guaranteed at this point in time. I think if it continues the way it is right now, probably at the beginning of next season, he's probably playing more of a wing type of position, and they're seeing if he can kind of figure everything else right. Because we see Martin St. Louis benching him. That these are these examples. He's starting to lose that patience a little bit. So will he maybe be on the team next year? Yes. Is he going to maybe be that 2C that Ivan Demidov needs? I could argue very, very strongly that that's probably not the case. They're going to want to get this right. So when they're doing that trade for the kind of that 2C, I think they're going to want to go for a little bit of a known commodity. Interesting to see a trade. It's definitely coming here.
Yeah, and I want to just say, like, the best hockey we've seen Kirby Dach play on Montreal has been when he's been a winger. Like, his highest level of point production. Now, we've seen him be able to generate offense as a center. He feels like a more natural center when you watch him, but I don't know, like the production kind of doesn't lie. And, when we're looking at these names like Zegras and Mittelstadt, Zegras I'm kind of tossing out the window. I don't like that idea still. Mittelstadt's more interesting. We're talking about him last year, and if we want to talk about known commodities, I'm not going to go too deep onto this right now, but again, Casey Mittelstadt is 26 years old, so like he's right about to enter his prime. He's right about Suzuki's age in a lot of ways, right? And he had 47 points in 62 games with Buffalo last year before being traded, 10 points in 18 games after. But this year on Colorado, 32 points in 54 games. Are those 2C numbers? No, not really. He is a center, but they're better than the Habs 2C right now in terms of production. So just saying, something like this might be coming. Now, I'm not saying Mittelstadt's one of those young up-and-coming guys. I wouldn't really call him a Kirby Dach-esque move, but if there's any other guys like that, starting to get into their prime, starting to be that known commodity that's better than what Montreal has, we might be hitting that tipping point. But let us know what you guys think down below. We'd love to hear from you, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching all the way to the end. If you're still here, we really, really appreciate you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.